House parties and basement clubs are the things that I used to have the most fun DJing when I started off. Virgin Media is our house. Like, a million people might be streaming it live, and a reason for us to really play the stuff that we love. I got my first couple 12 inches at this place called Rock and Soul, which was like the one place in New York where you could buy turntables, records. And I remember the very first place that I DJ'd this night, I probably had barely an entire crate of records and probably played every single one that I owned. I mean, there were probably 15 people in there, but the feeling of just like that one person who comes over is like, oh man, that's a great record, what is that? Just sort of made it all worth it in a way. It took me about 4 or 5 years to make my name in New York. We were DJing these clubs where you'd have everyone from DJ Premier and Guru to Biggie and Jay-Z and Big Pun and people like that coming out, and Puffy. And around that time I started to get known because I knew a lot about funk and soul and I loved to play those songs in my set. And I also started to mix in some rock and roll. I love playing with A-Trak. I mean, technically his skills are unparalleled.
There's no rules as far as like what you can mix with what.
He just has, you know, this encyclopedic knowledge of music, and we're both record nerds.
If it's got a dope beat, I'll play it. I don't care what the genre is. My first year of like experimenting with scratching and going to the record shop and, you know, just kind of like learning about what the scene is, I remember hearing about a DMC competition. The year after that, I decided I was going to enter. I was like 14, almost 15. I won. That was my first battle. I won that. Took me to the Canadian finals. Won that. Took me to the world finals. Won that. Next thing you know, like literally, before I could even realize what was going on, I was world champion.
People in clubs and stuff, because of the internet, are much more savvy about music. They know everything. You could go to a club in New York and play Skepta and it would probably go off.
It used to be a lot more of a sort of like one-way street where the DJs would go to record shops, find these records that were maybe just pressed in small quantities and this and that, and go play them in their set, and the audience would just listen and appreciate. But now, we all go to the same blogs, we all go to the same online stores. It's a two-way street now.
I remember playing 0 to 100 by Drake, like literally the day after he leaked it on the internet, and everybody in the club knew every single word to it already. I played a lot of house parties over the year. I mean, I remember the early ones that we'd play were just some little loft in downtown New York where you'd bring in the PA and the sound system. I miss those days of playing house parties because there is a vibe and there is something special in those rooms when you play, you know?
I've done shows in little courtyards, backyards in front of 200-300 people and played like kind of more of like a laid back but really original and creative selection, and then that ends up on YouTube and people watch it around the world for years. Literally impromptu, improvised set, and that's the ones that travel around the world sometimes.
When you're playing by yourself, you kind of have your sets and stuff that you know that work, and when you're playing with someone you don't usually play with, they might play a record that suddenly takes you down a whole nother lane, which is fun. That's the thing I love about playing with A-Trak. He'll play something and make me think to go to something completely different. I guess the set me and A-Trak are going to do at Virgin Media, our house, is take people a bit more on a musical journey. And then of course you still want people like banging the walls, like hearing tunes that they love, but I mean that's the great thing about house parties.